Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, Don't Get a Therapist Yet. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Donna Laine, and she is an award-winning entrepreneur. So, Donna, a very warm welcome for you today. And what is this award you got? Tell us more about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Wendy. Yes, I won in 2024. I am an I also F Entrepreneur 100 with Small Business Britain, which is a wonderful accolade, actually. They take the top 100 businesswomen and actually put you into this new world. We go to the House of Lords. We're actually able to help what's going on to influence women. I don't know whether you know, but actually 15% of women account for our economy, which actually means £16 billion. But we only get 2% funding. So this is an organisation that's about empowering women. So I was very fortunate to win that. I also won overall business winner for Winchester, where I come from. I've been a jeweler there for 11 years. And I also won business leader in Winchester as well. So very, very fortunate to do that. So I've been a jeweler for 11 years. It's a lifetime occupation for me to bring up my daughter. I was a single parent and I needed an income, which I know many will understand that one. But always in the background, I've been doing personal development and really enjoying it and exploring it and things like that. And that's what leads me to today doing my book, The Remembering Technique. So thank you, Wendy, for having me on board.
It's a great pleasure, Donna. And I think it's really good to, how do you do all that? How are you, a single mum bringing up a daughter, um, creating this amazing jewelry business, and then this amazing remembering technique on the side? I mean, most people can do one of those, but doing all three sounds amazing. Just one question that, how did you manage all that?
Well, I think it's when you needs must, isn't it? And as a single mom, I've always put my daughter first. And finding myself on my own with no support or anything like that, what actually happened for me opening the shop was my mum had died and I'd got a little amount of money and I literally opened the business with £8,000. That's all I had. My daughter had been very ill as a child, and we lived in hospital for the first 3 years of her life. So actually, I needed to find a job that would pay me, and also if I could leave it in a heartbeat, if I had to go to hospital. And naively, I thought I could open up a very small jewelry shop because I had a passion for jewelry because I wanted everybody to have the best for them. And my shop is only 8 steps by 8 steps, so it's tiny, which suited me. But again, we're very small in stature, but actually very big on footprint. We've been in Vogue, we've been in Tatler. So actually being able to use my mind information has actually really elaborated on everything. And it has actually been a really, really good place for me to bring my daughter up. And she's now just finishing private school, which I was fortunate enough to afford because of having the shop. And literally, I had no experience in retail. I just knew I could sell and literally had a go. I went and knocked on all the doors in Hatton Garden and asked them if they'd help me, and they did. And the way I did it was I filled my shop with silver and then bought some extra bigger pieces that I liked, and literally it started from that. So I'm going to my 12th year now. So yeah, absolutely, that's how I began,
Mm.
and I'm still doing that as well as my personal development. Then because your mind is such a wonderful tool that we don't know how to use, or we think we don't know how to use it. And when I wrote the book, I wrote it in a week. And it was our busiest time of the year. And being a jeweler, we take two-thirds of our money over Christmas period. And a mom, so I had to be up there, get up every morning, make sure I was there for Willow. And literally, what I did was I got up at 4 a.m. and I started writing, but I had remembered that it was going to flow and I had changed what I was doing. So I wrote a book, got my daughter to school, and nailed Christmas. So yeah, that's how I did it.
And it's such a great story and such a great inspiration for all those women out there who aspire to be their best, who aspire to, yeah, like you said, a lot of women that I speak to. They want it all. They want to, and there's nothing wrong with wanting it all. They want to be a good parent, but they also want their own, they're either a successful career, whatever it is that they want, and it's just really good to hear how you got there. But I know one of the reasons I brought you onto the podcast is that you've got this amazing technique. You've written this book and it's all about one special technique. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this future memory, please, Donna?
Yes, no, absolutely. So basically, I've been doing personal development for 30 odd years and finding that there was some wins and some losers with it, that it wasn't consistent. And I needed something that I thought was going to make it a bit easier because everybody kept saying, like, oh, Neville Goddard, you see the wish fulfilled, or, like you have to see it done and just visualize it like this all the time. And I'm auditory. So, least on my list is to visualize something. So, I'm auditory, kinesthetic, and then visual. So I'm like, oh, I don't understand that. So, literally, what happened was, because I was in this unusual circumstances that I'd left my husband, I was starting again with Willow. I just got the shop going, and money was really tight. And so I thought, oh, the mind can create anything. I'm going to push my boundaries. I'm going to write a song and can't sing, tone deaf, and started literally researching composers. And found out that Elgar and Mozart's my favourite one to research it, to be honest with you. But even Chris Martin from Coldplay, they all do it. They literally get a download. They remember their music. It flows to them. It comes to them. So I'm thinking, well, if it does that for them, can I then actually apply this to my life? And I was willing to try anything because you've got nothing to lose, have you? If not, I end up back at the beginning. It's okay, I've learned something or I haven't learned something, but I tried. And so I had a go at remembering my life, but more literally in just little pockets. It was just to start remembering a good holiday. So literally I was going away to Italy, and it was on my credit cards, like you do, because you've got to get away. And I just started to remember this holiday, but I went into the future and I remembered it as if it all had happened. And
Okay.
literally clean drive there, easy parking, straight through security, flight on time, great crew. Bear in mind, I'm traveling with a child and usually my nephew, so there's children. So this wasn't unstressful. And literally, great holiday, no upsets, calm, serene, happy, and then reverse the process to come back. And that's exactly what happened. And it was like, oh my gosh, that
Wow.
was like a warm knife through butter. Oh, I really liked that. Oh, it was just a fluke. No, it can't be. It's just one of those coincidences. And then I tried it again. And again, not for holidays though, but like for a journey or my day. And then suddenly my life started to change. And it started to change wonderfully. And I find myself, and sometimes in the most stressful situation, but actually I'd be quite happy because I knew I'd remembered that I was okay, that this it was going to work out for me, and that's exactly what would happen. And so that's how it actually became when I was listening to Mozart and I was painting a ceiling. It came to me, and then I
Mm.
practiced it. I researched it on the internet, and nobody had it out there, and they still don't.
Mm.
When I wrote the book, and everybody said, "Oh, write a book in ChatGPT." So I did, and the ChatGPT hadn't got a clue what I was talking about. So I then had to write it myself. So I just remembered a different way then. So that's how it began, and that's what it's all about. It's about you have the power, and this is about using something you've used since you were a baby to learn to walk, to learn to clean your teeth, to tie your shoelaces, to go to the dentist. We now change how you use something that's so familiar to you to actually activate the life that you want.
It sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad you wrote the book rather than ChatGPT. We still need humans, and I think that's a very, very positive thing. So thanks for
We
sharing that.
word.
I'm a great fan of ChatGPT, but I think it's
Me
the
too.
blending which makes it special. So, is there actually any science behind this sort of future memory? Does it actually kind of rewire your brain? Are you able to sort of tell us a bit more about that, please, Donna?
Yes, there is absolutely. So this actually feeds into what Joe Dispenza is actually out there speaking about. This is neuroplasticity. This is actually where they used to think with the brain that literally when you got older and everything like that, that yes, the brain cells die off, and if you drink too much alcohol, this happens and that happens and things like that. It makes me laugh actually because if you ever go to a Joe Dispenza thing, he goes, and don't forget to go home and have a glass of wine. And so it actually completely changes how you do it because what's actually happening is it does go back to the old adage that like if you don't use it, you lose it. But in the same breath, it's like everything it has a positive and a negative. And when you do start to use something, you start to create new, and that you can actually do in your mind. So literally, it's the synapses in the way. What happens is, so if you were ever been to hypnosis or ever known anything like that, you would know that the mind actually plays the memories and the records and your learnings. So there's neural pathways again and again and again. And if you ever wanted to change something with hypnosis, what would actually happen is all they will do is go in and just literally move the needle on your record. So actually, you get to keep the experience or the memory of it, but without the emotion. So you're actually taking your perception of the idea or what you remembered it was and creating it as a new neural pathway for you. So when that starts to happen, you start to change. And this now, the science actually, because this links into quantum physics, neuroplasticity, all mean that when you're into the mind and you're starting to create these new neural pathways, you can actually change your DNA. That's how powerful this is. This links to every cell in your body. This is where you get your heart and mind. Math actually, it's to do with the pineal gland and the way that the electrical fields come out of that. Well, bear in mind, when you start to consciously create your life, you consciously change who you are, where you are, what you want to do, and why you want to do it. Now, one of the myths in this world is that because we're linear trained, everybody tends to think that we are what we are linear programmed to do. So we're our culture, we're our parents' culture, we're their beliefs, we're our school beliefs, we're the media beliefs. And actually, none of that's true. And there'll be times when you read something and you just have a gut feeling that you know that doesn't feel right. You know that there's other things going on there, but you're not quite sure how you actually can keep tapping into that. How do you actually get to use those nuances that is God given, really, that you have, that is yours? And this is your power. So, literally, what you do is by going into the future, and bear in mind, and this is what so little people understand, is you can choose your next thought. Now, if I was to ask you, what is your next thought? What would you say? And it's like, oh, that's a good point. And literally, there is no thought. So actually, what if you now know you can choose your next thought? You are now starting to be into control of who you are. And when you think we have 60,000 thoughts a day, 95% of them are repetition, and 75% of those are negative. So you are constantly talking to yourself like your mom did, like your dad did, like your brother did, like your doctor did, like your dentist did. It doesn't matter who. It's just literally the mind has no way to filter between reality and imagined. And so your perception, because actually history is just your perception, you and I can have the same memory and it be poles apart. And literally, I hear this so many times actually where two sisters were brought up in the same household. One had a great relationship with the mom, and the other one had a terrible relationship with the mom. And so one had a terrible upbringing, and the one had the most secure, loving. And how can that happen in exactly the same environment? And so this way, you're starting to take control of you. You're starting to choose your next thoughts. You're starting to choose what you want. And when you actually have radical responsibility, the world is your oyster because literally you are the magician in your own life, in your own head, and in your own DNA and your own cells. So you can heal yourself. You can create the future you want. You can just live the future you want in such an easy, effortless way by just literally remembering you did it.
Mm,
And then you just keep playing your memory of you. And that's what the mind will deliver for you.
mm. And it's very powerful message, and it's a very deep message, isn't it? To feel that you really is that deep self-belief that you can actually make those changes. Um, you said radical responsibility. Could you just explain a little bit more about what that means, Donna, just in case
Yes,
people wanted
certainly.
to know?
So radical responsibility is that we very much live in a blame culture. And literally, it's so easy to go out there and like blame everybody else, but actually start taking some responsibility yourself for your own behavior. Now, bear in mind, you don't know what you're doing in one way because you're linear trained, your culture, your change, But what if you take that hat off? What if you suddenly start to see that there's a bigger horizon there. There's other things. And I'm not on about forgiving people that have upset you. I'm not on about like changing your values, morals, or beliefs. This is none of that. This is actually about where are you? Why are you there? What got you there? And literally, you are now accepting that you had that journey
Mm,
and in that moment, you have the power of change. And as you have that power of change, you can then choose to be the new you. Now, the beauty of this also is you don't even have to believe it. You just literally have to do it. But the minute you become responsible and you take ownership, miracles start to happen because you then know, from the minute we are children, and I think it's about the age one, it might be about 9 months actually. No, it's 9 months. When you can say no, you have freedom. You have the freedom of free thought. And that means, as a little human being, you will start to say yes. Well, first of all, you usually say mama or papa sort of thing or dada. But then the next one will be no. They always seem to say no before they say yes. And literally that is free will. We cannot inflict on other people's free will. That is literally go against everything. That's why wars don't work. That's why
mm,
controversy doesn't work. We have to have this respect for the people and their situation. However, it has to be mutual respect for it actually to come to compliance for a bigger and better outcome. And that's why we have wars, because they don't have that mutual respect. However, once you start to be radically responsible, there is nothing but ultimate bliss for you and happiness and a new way of living that allows you to actually accept where you are.
mm.
It takes road rage away because literally, yeah, they cut you up, but you don't know what kind of day they were having. You don't know what they were doing. And actually, did it really matter? You're still going to be in the same traffic jam, still going in the same way, and you're still going to get to your outcome, but you're going to get there safely. And you haven't wasted a jot of emotion over it because you're just responsible about your journey, not theirs.
I think it's a really good point, Donna. And as a therapist, I think if I can just sort of put it into what my understanding as a therapist is we have life experiences, and obviously they can be very difficult and very traumatic, but it kind of goes into the brain as sort of like memories or beliefs. And I think what you're saying is once you understand that concept, um, you've got a really positive message of change at that point. You can say, okay, so this is how it's affected me. I accept that, but I can now move forward with this technique and I can actually, start to influence my day every day. I can start to influence it because I'm now choosing to take responsibility and take control of my reactions, my thoughts and feelings and my so that, I am now in control. Would that be a fair way of saying it? Does that sort of
That's
catch yours?
absolutely in a
Yeah.
capsule because the thing is, nobody wants to take away from anybody what they've actually experienced.
Mm,
It's their experience, it's their journey. So recently, I was working with a lady, and literally, she'd had bowel cancer, and something had happened, and there was some recurrence that they were having to test for, and she straight away went into like, oh, my mom had this, my sister had this is in my family, I've had this is horrendous, this is da da da. And I'm just like, whoa, let's stop. Let's just put a break in it for 2 minutes. And you're right, you have been through the most awful time, and it has been so sad and awful with what happened with the family. But you are not your mom, you are not your sister, you are not their journey, you are your journey. Now, knowing you've come through and you're in remission, and what we're going to do is they're going to be testing, but actually, what if we can influence that? What if we can change this into something where you start to be in control rather than being full of fear? Because the past to her was so emotive with what had happened in her family. It was so strong, it was so powerful. And sometimes that can be enough to trigger other things in us, because
Mm,
um, the best analogy to this actually is Roger Bannister in the 4 Minute Mile. And it literally is that, before anybody ran the 4 Minute Mile, they reckoned you'd combust. They reckoned your organs would explode. And all these things would happen to you if you did, run a 4 minute mile. And literally, the minute he ran that 4 minute mile, he was okay. I think within the first month, 25 people actually went ahead and did the
mm,
same. And so, as humans, we love that example. And then when we start to see that actually somebody else has done it, we can copy it. It's called mirror neurons that you can use. And
mm,
so, literally, it means that when you are having those beliefs, those experiences happen to you, the past does not equal the future. And this is where you actually get to change your future. And it does not take away your experience, it does not take away what happened to you. And you have to give yourself a pat on the back for being that strong, stoic person that got you through it, because you did find the strength to do it. And now we have the ability to have a new technique that gives you the opportunity to change it going forward. And to give you the example of my lady that we're talking with, it was one about how she was talking to herself. So we changed that. We then actually started to visualize herself seeing every cell in the body being done, but remembered that she was absolutely healthy, totally healthy. And also, it was about making her dreams come true. And she wanted actually a place on the beach. And she'd been holding herself back because she'd been so terrified about this health issue. And literally, once we'd actually put it into perspective, she felt better. She was talking to herself better. Her future memories started to come alive. She's actually bought her most beautiful dream home on the beach with her husband. She's changed her life for the better. She let go of a job that didn't suit her and serve her. And would you believe, not only did they give her a good package, etc., she's also gone back as a consultant so she can take the learnings that she's got at a higher value while she's living on her house in the beach, in her new healthy herself. And her test came back negative.
Yeah, great story, a great example of how you can work with people, isn't it? And I think it's really important that, we will be going into a little bit more detail about the technique. But it's great to hear those stories because I also work a lot of people, who've got sort of health anxiety or fear of cancer and like that. It's such a powerful story. So thank you so much, Donna, for sharing that as well. Um, does it help people who are sort of aspirational, sort of top performers type of thing, CEOs or professional athletes? Does it work with those sort of people as well?
Oh my gosh, yes. I actually worked with a guy who wanted to run 2 marathons every day for 3 weeks from football clubs from Newcastle upon Tyne down to Southampton, and he'd only run one marathon and hadn't really done the like what you would think. Very fit man, don't get me wrong, very healthy, etc. And also wanted to raise 1 million for cancer research because he'd had some family members that had had that. And literally, we did that. We did some time distortion, and we saw it actually done, and we remembered it done, and him running through the stadium and everything like that. And we also used it to make sure that he used his own medicine cabinet inside his mind, and he achieved it. And 3 challenges later, which I helped him work with as well, which was a bike challenge and a swim. A running one, which is a marathon every day, and then biking. And then the last challenge he did was 7 Ironmans in 7 days, raised 1 million for cancer research. And the first one that he did actually was exceptional because when you think he'd only run one marathon and then he went to run 2 marathons a day for 3 weeks and did it and was okay and didn't have all the bad, he did have blisters, don't get me wrong, because it takes a lot out of you, but nothing like what you would get normally if you hadn't actually used the mind to um, use. What you do is actually when you start to remember that your feet can change, and you change into cool moss actually, so they're cold as they're running. They then change how the physiology of it is. So yes, that's very, very easy to do, and work together for 8 weeks before that actually happened. Then if you want to do it for work, there was a lady actually that I worked with that hadn't got the qualifications for a major role, and I'm like, that shouldn't stop you. You know, you've got, if you know you've got the ability to do it, or you believe you have, then let's just remember that we did it. And so she thought she was up against all these other interviewees, and she got the job. And literally, we just started remembering it done. And apparently, they were looking for somebody fresh, somebody different, and absolutely found her vocation. And then another one for sport was my daughter literally started playing lacrosse, and she literally plays for England, like is on talent stuff for Aspire for England. She's national champion. She plays at 15. She was playing with the top lacrosse team, and literally, it is about remembering that she just, and all she does is literally, she's a child. She just literally remembers. She just loves it, and she's there to love it and just be herself. And the more she does that, the more success she gets. So this is how powerful and easy it is, and it really is about inspiring you, and you start to live happily. And another lady that I worked with, just as another example, a designer, great lady, and she sort of had this issue with her mom, and then she just remembered she had a great day with her mom and her sister. And anyway, they went out with their mom on the Sunday, and they had the best day ever with their mom. And then she said, I actually did this technique with this lady, and I had a really, I said, I was remembered I had a great day with my mom. And her sister went, but we did have a great day with mom. We never have a great day with mom. And so I'm like, oh, would you like to take it further? Do you want to do more? She went, oh my goodness me, no. I just want to get out of bed in the morning and just remember I have a great day. She said, I'm working more in flow. I've got more work coming in. I'm earning more money. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm just happy. I remember I have a great day. And that's how simple it can be.
Mm, mm. And it's really positive because you can use it in so many different situations. Um, I mean, I know your future memory is different from visualization, and we can talk about that as well a little bit more. But I'm a great believer in visualization, just as you says that the mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. It can be so powerful, can't it? So great stories. Thank you so much for sharing those, Donna. Everything it really helps to people to understand how amazing this technique is. So just getting back into a bit more detail then, I mean, how can you just give us a bit of an overview actually how the technique works? I know obviously you've got a book on it which goes into much more thorough detail, but just a little bit of an introduction, if that's okay.
Yes, no, no, not at all. Yeah, I've got a book. Also, it's on Kindle and it's also on Audible, so you are able to use learn it anyway. So literally, you take an event or your life. It doesn't matter. There doesn't have to be anything specific, and you can use a journal or a diary. Those are the most powerful that I found because we're linear trained, and this is working to our talents and skill sets rather than trying to go against everything. So you get a diary, and I usually get a diary from an academic one. And the reason I do that is it actually spans New Year. So you don't have any of those beliefs or I'm going to have a new goal and this is what I'm going to do. And then by the end of January, it's gone because you're seamlessly living from one to the next,
Mm,
or you can run both diaries. It doesn't matter. So literally, so say if uh, so if you've got a driving test on the 10th of August, and literally what I would be doing is I would be going to the 15th of August, and in my diary, on the 15th of August, so if I was talking to you, I'd ask you to play a game with me because the mind loves games because we're all a little child inside, really. And so let's play with that. Let's have some fun. Let's stop being so serious. Let's just enjoy this. So it's the 15th of August, and we've just taken our driving test. How fabulous is that? And so literally, I would write down like, "Wow, oh my goodness me, I had the most amazing time." I just remember it so clearly. I felt so good on the day of my test. It was amazing. I passed my written thing. It was amazing. I just felt so clear and confident, and I knew I was going to be calm and serene and very aware while I was driving. So that actually my driving instructor, my driving examiner felt very confident with me in the car. Oh my goodness me. I got to the centre early, the car was prepped, it was a great day, the weather was perfect for me, and I just felt calm, serene, happy, and amazing. It was just wonderful. I had the best examiner in the place. He was amazing. It was just wonderful. We got on, he smiled, I smiled. Oh my goodness me. And I just thought, right, I know what to do. I'm calm and I'm collected and I'm just going to do the most perfect driving. And I did. It was just wonderful. I felt amazing, just absolutely wonderful. Oh, what a great day. And I did it. I did it. I passed my test. First time. Oh my gosh. And I'm now so thrilled that I'm able to pop to the shops. It's wonderful. My mom loves it. We don't ever run out of milk now. And then just say, what a great day. I loved it. And then, so we're doing that on the 15th of August. Bear in mind, our test was on the 10th of August. So we would write back and say, like, oh, on the 10th of August, I did this. And then just bottom right hand corner, because bear in mind, I remembered this on the 15th of July. So I've done it a month in advance, or you can do it a week in advance. But the more you practice this, the faster you can use your future memory. So because it's something that it's a new skill set, and repetition is the mother of skills. So you learned to tie your shoelaces. You didn't learn it in one go. You didn't learn to walk in one go. So using your future memory the right way, literally, you start to use it for small things, or you can go for big things, but you have to do the repetition with it to start with. Then once you know how to do it, all of a sudden you start to think it and it starts to happen. It's so easy.
Mm.
And it's also, you can use it for like your future memory for lost things. So like, it's just like, oh, sometimes I tend to lose my keys. And that's usually because I'm doing more than one thing at a time. And then just literally I'll sit down and think, oh, by 11:15 I found my keys. And then I swear to you, they jump out my handbag. And you go, oh, wow, that's amazing. Thank you. There's my keys. Put them on the hook now. And so that's the way that you can do it. And it is very powerful. There are other nuances you can do as well. So you can record it and listen to it if you're auditory like me. Because bear in mind, I'm not visual.
Mhm.
So and people think, oh, I'm not visual, I can't see it, I can't achieve it. That's not true. I draw stick people. If I want to draw a picture that I want of something, the house I created, I just literally wrote out all the things I wanted, and then I achieved it because I remembered I had it, and literally that's what happened.
Mm. That's amazing and really good examples there. I love the driving test one. That's so good. You've explained it so well, Donna, and I can see how people can think, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. And, there is a kind of trend. A lot of people talk about um, visualization, manifestation, the law of attraction. And sometimes, it doesn't happen. Sometimes people can feel quite bad about that. Or sometimes I work with people who have intrusive thoughts. So that can be quite difficult, because I got a thought, it comes true. The other thing goes away. So what's the difference between future memory and things like law of attraction and manifestation?
Future memory is activating manifestation, law of attraction. It's your language.
Ah,
It's your language. It's how
okay.
you talk yourself. So when you have those intrusive thoughts, and I'm really glad you brought that up actually, because this is where we self-sabotage. This is where we actually start going back to our old patterns. The mind will always take you to pleasure, not pain. And when it feels threatened or it thinks it's got to do something new that's going to be, you've got to, sometimes when you're going for big things, people say you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's when your intrusive thoughts come in and then you blow it out the butt. But what you can do is when you start to notice them, because you remember that you notice these thoughts coming in, because they don't serve you. It's a past paradigm that has absolutely no relevance in this moment whatsoever. But again, it's you keeping you safe, whether you want to call it the mind or the subconscious or some part of you just wants to make sure. And don't forget, it's very comfortable. You've created a lot of repetition, you've created a lot of habits that
Mm.
serve you. And literally, do you really want to change? Do you really want to do this? Life isn't really that bad. And what if, it becomes worse before it becomes better? Or what if actually it isn't what you wanted? Perfect. It doesn't matter. You get to create it again. And that's the thing. As humans, when we stop creating, we stagnate. That's when you tend to get depression. That's when you start to get negativity. That's when it's very easy to go to the blame culture. We are actually designed to keep creating. What brings us, it's why we like to bake cakes. It's why we like to wash the car. It's why we like to just, fold a piece of paper or even just tidy up plastic bags. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we're constantly looking for different things to do, even if it's changing the program on the television. Doesn't matter which start where you are on the level of doing things. If you're sitting there watching the telly, you're still changing, you're still creating something different. That is your natural way. So, literally, what you are doing with this is you start to change your language. And when you start to talk to yourself and you're using the new language, so the lady before that was terrified of cancer, and this is massive. And I'd like, if people only just did this one thing in life, I know in all my heart you will have a better day. And literally, when she went to panic, I was like, just stop, breathe, and just think everything is working out for me perfectly.
Mm.
Everything is working out for me perfectly. And then the mind will start to have everything working out for you because that's what it's hearing. That's what's being repeated to it. And that literally, you can go, everything is working out for me happily and easily. I used to say, everything's working out for me in ease and flow. And I did have the most ease and flow life. Well, sometimes I'd be in the middle of contrast and context because let's face it, life goes on. You can't influence everybody around you in 5 minutes flat to literally stop going, yeah, or, oh, and you sit there and you think, how did I get here? And then literally, I sit there and I go, everything is working out for me happily and easily, perfectly for me. And it just shifts your emotions, takes radical responsibility back to you, and you just suddenly sense that calm. And that one little saying is just amazing.
Mm.
Then the other, if you're actually and as I say to you, you don't have to believe me about this. You don't have. I truly don't care, because it's just not about me. It's about you, and I'm just the conduit to give you the tools. And literally, one of the great stories I've got about this is a guy from Wales that came to see me, and literally he was going like, "Can we just hurry up? I've got to get back to Wales. Can you hurry up? I've got to get back to Wales." And I'm like, "Why don't we just remember that you?" And he's like, "Why are you so caught up on the time?" Because we can change time as well with this, but that's another story. And he was like, "Well, I've got to get to Cardiff. I've got to get to Cardiff. What do you think? What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, why don't we just remember you had an easy journey? Why don't we just remember that you stopped for something to eat? Why don't we just remember there's no traffic on the road? And why don't we just remember that you were home early? It's Cardiff. It's always busy. I'm like, okay, you don't believe it then. I'll believe it for you. So, just like, so I'm just remembering for you there's no traffic on the road. You're stopping to have something to eat. It's very, very easy. You get home early and there was no traffic at all. And then that night I get a text from him and he was like, who knew there was no traffic on the road? Who knew I'd stop and have something to eat? Who knew I'd
Amazing.
be home early? And you're like, there you go. Do you know what I mean? I just sat there and went,
There you
so,
go.
and this is how powerful you are.
Yeah.
And that's why those moments when you put those flags in, that when because you're now starting to become aware of how you're talking to yourself,
Mm.
you can then, and then also it's about listening to your gut. That'll come up as well. Your instincts will start, that doesn't feel right. This is not quite right for me. You'll then suddenly also find the power to say, actually, this isn't for me at the moment, but I'm really grateful, but I just got to go with what I feel like. And you're never wrong. How many times have you gone against something that hasn't felt right? And then literally you're just like, why did I do that? And you have to unravel something that you knew in the beginning. Whereas this way, the minute you catch that, you can just change your conversation and go, everything is working out for me. Everything is working out for me perfectly. And or you can go, everything is working out for me happily. Always put the happily in Because as I say, I spent there in a lot of ease and flow, being pretty miserable and thinking, well, this is all working out for me, but why am I upset? And then the minute I put happy in, yeah, okay, and perfectly for me. Oh, that worked out for me. That worked out for me. And yeah, so it's that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, again, as a therapist, I'm a great believer in language. We've mentioned this a couple of times, and it's like a mantra, isn't it? And what you've found is you fine-tuned it, haven't you? Is that you had to have the perfectly in there, not just happy and flow, because sometimes you need to get things done, don't you? And everything like that. So I really like that. I really like the fine tuning of that mantra to say it again and again and again. And it's one tiny little thing that people can do. But like you say, it just makes such you're just talking to yourself differently, aren't you? And that's the whole point of what you're saying, Donna. It's really, really good. And
But also, what you can do with it, for where it goes with the future memories, you can go into your future memory self, and if you want to, you can look back on your week. And if this is, it's like Bob Proctor does, with like, I'm so happy and grateful that large amounts of money come to me. So many people do that mantra and they find that works. You can literally go, I remember I'm so happy and grateful. Take the pressure off yourself. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to constantly keep writing it. So you can go in a week in advance, if you like, or a day in advance. You can just like, I just remember that what day is it today? It's the 9th. So I can go to the 12th and say, I just remember that the 9th, 10th, and 11th, everything worked out for me and more. Everything worked out for me perfectly and easily and happily, and hand it over.
mm, mm. Super, super. And I think you're sort of this really helps people with confidence and clarity and motivation, doesn't it? That's what you're talking about. Um, Anything more you can say about that, Don? I think you've already alluded to it, but any more specific examples you can give around sort of self-confidence?
There's so many examples, but one that's really a good working example that I think actually hits home to a lot of women or men actually that may be in the same situation. And it was interesting when I did one of my workshops, a man actually came up to me and said, "But what if you are in a bad relationship and you don't know how to deal with it?" And I think this sums it up actually. So it will liken it. So I had one lady come to see me and she was just like, she wanted to sell her house and her house wasn't selling. It had been on the market for quite a while. They'd had lots of viewings. And so we get talking and her whole language was like, I can't sell my house and I need to sell my house. And I want to divorce my husband and I want a new life, but it's very complicated and I can't leave my husband and I can't get divorced and I can't sell my house and I can't move forward and I can't sort this out and I can't do this. There's an awful lot of I can'ts.
Mm.
So I start to smile because I'm like, okay. And so I said, well, we can try the remembering technique if you like, and you don't have to believe me. She said, oh, well, no, you don't understand because you don't understand my husband. I said, but I don't need to. And then she's like, and you don't understand my house isn't so. I'm like, I don't need to know the story about the house either. And then she was like, and I don't. I'm like, oh, okay. Let's just play a game. Let's just have some fun. Why don't we just let go of what we can't do, and look at what we can do? And so today we can actually choose to change. And and you don't have to believe this, and you don't have to do anything except just do it with me. Let's just do it together for fun. So we literally, I said, so what if actually, let's just remember. I said, when would you like to be moved by? She said, oh, well, I'd like to be moved by the spring. And this was Christmas. And I'm like, okay. And is that too long for you or short? Because I'm quite a fast person. So for me, like, it'd be like, want to be done in 6 weeks. But, like, I have to move to other people's timelines. And so she's like, spring suit be fine. I'm like, okay. And so I said, let's just start small. She was going on holiday with the daughters, and they were going through a bit of a patch where they weren't getting on great, like you do. And it's just family, isn't it? There's moments when we all have moments. So I just said, let's just remember the holiday. So we remembered the holiday first. And she came back from the holiday and she was like, we had the best time. It's so easy. There was no traffic on the road. We parked. Me and the girls got on fabulously. We blonded. I just had the best holiday ever. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like, right, okay, then so back to the house moving there. Oh, nobody's been to see the house. The house isn't moving. Like, and my husband hasn't gone. Oh my God. No. So I'm like, okay, let's leave it alone then. So I said, what if, okay, then just play a game with me. What if in the spring it's all sorted, it's all done, and exactly how you want? can we really do that? Yes, we can. Why don't we have a memory of it? So I sent her off to go and find me the perfect house. So she comes back with the perfect house and she goes, oh my gosh, I love this house. And the girls can live here and the girls can do this and da-da. I'm like, great, now tell me what it's like to have a coffee in the kitchen. She's like, oh, it's like this. And I'm like, what are you doing in the garden? She's, oh my God, it's amazing. I'm like, perfect. Wonderful. Right now then, let's start remembering, shall we? Should we start consciously living in the new house and letting go of the past? And she's like, okay. But and I'm like, no, but let's just play a game. Let's play. So literally, we went through the process and saw the house selling and seeing her husband going easily and effortlessly, and that she moves into this new house. And so she goes, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I can't tell you. Well, that week afterwards, literally, she had so many viewings on her property, she couldn't believe it. She was just like, but it's not selling. It's not selling. And I'm just like, have faith. It's like, you remembered it. It's your memory. So, like, it will happen. I promise you. Then I get a phone call. Oh, the house is sold. My dream house is sold. I'm like, can we just stay with the faith with this and just know it's your memory? This is what we've remembered. This is why we've remembered it. And yada, yada, yada. So we go back over that again. Anyway, then she has a flood in her house. And she's like, oh, it's even worse now. And I'm like, a pilot never goes from England, from London to New York in a straight line. I'm not saying this is going to be perfect. I'm saying you can have what you want. I said, and just like the pilot goes a bit of a zigzag. So it turns out the flood was a great bonus for her because everything works out for her. And it turns out that then they were able to fix one or two things that may have stopped a sale going through in the future. So that got dealt with in all the right timing and didn't stop the next sale that went through with it. So the husband left, the house sold, the new house, the buyers pulled out. And that was in the January, and it was at my workshop. She announced to the whole room. She said, Donna doesn't know this, but my dream house has just come back on the market. They haven't offered it to anybody else but me. And she moved in May 22, 22nd of May.
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah.
And so she got no confidence. She got no foresight to what was going on in the future. She got no way of getting rid of her husband, no way of getting rid of the old house. No, there was just like, she was so low, bless her.
Yeah.
And yet, and because we're trying to do everything conventionally. And actually, when we step into our power, literally, we can create miracles, our own miracles, and for the better for everybody. So her daughters are happier, her ex-husband's happier, she's happier, she's living the life of her dreams, and she's now in her
Fantastic.
beautiful home. Yeah.
Wow,
I
that's
hope
such
that
a lovely
helps.
story. Yeah, it's a really good example. And I think, what you're saying is people get into that mindset of, that the language they're telling to herself all the time is, I can't do this, and so of course her brain believes it, doesn't it? So it's
And
like
just
a vicious circle,
absolutely, it'll keep creating it again because you can't do
Yeah,
it. Actually, you can. And as I say, and this is the thing, because sometimes you can go into the future and you can um, try and put a little too much definition on it. And it's funny because when I first started to do this, I was actually told, oh, don't put a date on it. You don't want to control it that much. And I'm like, but we live by linear calendars. That's how we have learnt to do things. So why wouldn't we work with something that's already working for us? So, and literally now this person uses this technique fabulously and got a doctorate in 4 months. I think she did 3 months. Something like that. So, yeah. So
wow.
literally, when we start using the things that we're already using, but just use them a different way, it can create, well, you just start creating the new you and you start consciously living the new you. And then in doing so, you are absolutely able to create your own song. So I never got to create a song. I never got the riff and the royalties that I wanted to. But the song I sing now actually is one to just makes my heart sing because it just literally means that one, you don't have to hear me sing, but two is that I get to be a conduit for people to have a better life. And even if, the hairdressers I go to, it's great. The receptionist has read the book because obviously we talk about it when I'm in there and, etc. And she read the book and then she was like, I've been doing what you said and it's been amazing. I was like, oh gosh, yes. I just remembered there's no cyclists on the way to work because I don't want to hurt anybody. And there's no cyclists. And that's how
Amazing.
simple it can be. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. And I think you've already mentioned Donna, that you know you don't have to be great at visualizing, because some people aren't very good at, you've got the writing it down, and you can put it on a tape. So you can put it on recording now, and so that it's very sort of flexible for people. So people don't have to worry about the visualizing of it as well. It's really amazing, isn't it?
It takes all the pressure off because you're doing it your way and nobody knows you better than you, and they're your
Yeah.
words. But the thing is, it is about um, changing your language, though, and that
Yes.
people don't tend to get to the manifestation that they want. This is the literally is the press go button. This is the activation, and people don't understand. Even people that have been doing NLP, a lot of they'll know the nuances with the languages and things like that, but sometimes they don't actually even understand because of what the programming or the words that they're using as a child themselves, because it would have been something their mom said, it could have been something that their aunt said. It was the dinner lady that made me eat cheese and potato pie at school, you know. It's just like, um, and that sounds crazy, isn't it? But it's as real today to me as it was the day she made me eat the cheese and potato pie, you know. But I did throw up all over her shoes. I did tell her, but she wasn't listening. Um, so, and so it's those kind of things that drive us, and we don't know it. So then, when we start to choose our new language, and then we start to consciously live with this new language, you literally can create anything. So whether you write it down, you can either just feel good, whether you're a kinesiologist, you can just auditory, you just keep hearing it. If you're auditory, it's an absolute must to put it on your voice memo on your phone and just keep playing it again and again and again, and you will literally achieve it like WD-40 because you're talking to yourself. It's just like put it on when you get in the car, put it on before you go to sleep, put it on when you get up in the morning,
Yeah.
have in the shower, it doesn't matter. If you're visual, as I say, I'm not visual, but I am visual because we are all or we wouldn't be, if you know what I mean. So the world's 70% visual. And so we've been taught to write, and writing's really important. It's very powerful. So you make a mark in the world. Years and years ago, that was making your mark in the world with a cross, and that's called a spell, and that's where spellings come from. So that's another way of using your energy. So that's why you write it, not type it. When I was working with Winchester University, they are massive on this thinking ink, thinking ink, thinking
Mm.
ink. Um, and literally, so that's one way of you talking to yourself. Another way is to just record it. I draw out mind maps because I don't think linear anymore.
Mm.
I think some people used to say it's chaotic actually, but it wasn't. I got an awful lot done. And mind maps really worked for me.
Mm.
So if you can, even Boeing can take a 6-month program and take it to 6 weeks by doing on a mind map, why wouldn't we use that tool to make our life better? And that's what I did when I mind mapped my house out and also my partner. Um, and um, and literally by doing that, wrote it all out, emptied my head, remembered I'd got it, and literally that's exactly what I got.
I think the person who created mind maps, can't remember his name off the top
Tony
of my head.
Bazan, Tony,
Thank you
Tony
very
Bazan.
much, Toby
Yeah, yeah,
Bazan. Yeah, it's because that's the way our brains work. Actually,
yeah,
we're not we're like you say, we're taught in a linear way, but our brains actually work more like sort of having those neural connections, and
absolutely.
that's why that became very popular, didn't it, as a way of learning? And that's a really good way. So it sounds like there's different ways you can actually do this technique according to what your preferences are or what works best for you. So that's really, really, really good. Is there anything else that so what people get wrong is not changing their language, perhaps not using repetition enough, um, perhaps doing the specific thing about the date. Is there anything else that people get wrong that you can kind of like guide them around?
The biggest thing is when you're stuck, when you're talking to yourself and you catch yourself, is like we said, it's the mantra, but it's knowing what to say in the mantra. So it literally is, everything is, oh, I remembered that worked out for me.
Mm,
I remembered
okay,
that worked out for me. That worked out for me really happily.
okay,
And then literally you've created a new neuron, you've created a new
mm,
memory. It's
okay,
like, oh yeah, so it's a different way that just like when you remember, so if I just say to you, okay, when do you want to go on a quick journey with me? Remember the day we went down to the beach and the sun was shining, we parked the car easily. It was just an effortless journey to walk through the sand and we could feel the warm sand through our toes, the blue sea lapping on the beach. We just felt we were excited and calm before we got anywhere near the water.
Mm.
And it was just delightful, wasn't it? Didn't we just have the best day? And immediately, the sunshine fills every cell of your body, doesn't it? The
Mm.
calmness and the water, and
Oh
just
yeah.
like it's just there. Well, this way, you can just take those exact feelings, vision, and just integrate that into your life. And then the minute you do that, you have higher vibration, you are in a more positive place, which generally means you get more of what you put out there. And what you put out there, you get back, and that's more positivity.
Mm. And just perhaps my last question, actually, Donna, is again, as a therapist, I've worked with a lot of people with sort of, anxiety and depression, but also trauma. And I think sometimes what can happen when they go into their own memory, things from the past can sort of pop up. And obviously,
Oh,
those are
yeah.
very distressing. Is there
Yes.
any way you can sort of guide somebody if that's their problem?
Yes. So, as we were talking about before, like the mind map sort of thing and the way the mind works. So, if you think of it like a tree,
Yeah.
so we may be dealing with some of the traumas here, but actually there might be a secondary trauma or
Mm.
a secondary reference to it. And it might actually be a smell, it might be a word, it
Mm.
might be a
Oh,
touch, it
yeah.
might be a thought or an association to something. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we will never know what that secondary um, interpretation is until they either abreact to it or they just literally come up with it. That's when they can catch themselves talking to themselves
Mm.
because they'll have done this a million times. They're very familiar to it. And literally, that's when they go, oh, yes. And there's three things you can do actually. You can either thank it and
Mhm.
say, because now you're starting to recognize that it was keeping it safe. So it was keeping them
Mm.
safe. So they weren't going to go through that trauma again. They weren't going to have that happen to them again. But actually, it's a bit like self professing prophecy. The more you play it, the more actually, because what you put out there, you'll get back again. It's just an energy field thing because energy, as we know with quantum physics, is it can't be created or destroyed. It just as is. But how, at what level does that energy start changing? And that's when the art of that is then in the power of decision and emotion. So when that old secondary reference turns up, they can just start to remember that they acknowledge it. And so sometimes when it happens for me, I call mine Kai, and I go, oh, thanks. Thanks, Kai. Really appreciate it. I'm so
Mm.
grateful.
Yeah.
But actually, I've remembered I'm in a different place now, thank you.
Mm.
And
I like that.
literally, it collapses the energy.
Mm.
And when there's no energy, there's nothing for it to react to.
Mm.
And so, and I've had anxiety. I've had times when I was down,
Mm, of course.
um,
Yeah.
and still
Who
do. I mean,
hasn't? Yeah.
yesterday, prime example, yesterday, phone call, 6 o'clock in the morning, fire brigade. I've still got my jewelry shop, coffee shop's on fire next door. And like, I'm the first response because they can't find the other people. And like, you don't know what you're going to be driving to. Fire. So they told me there are 4 fire engines there. And literally, so I just wake my daughter up and I go, you're going to have to come with me. There's a fire at the shop and I've got to go now. So just throw your clothes on and we go. And she's just, and bless her, we sat there in the car and like, everything's working out for me. Everything's working out for me. And we drove calmly. And I'm like, 4 fire engines is quite a lot of fire engines, isn't it? And she was like, yeah, Mum, but it's okay. I'm like, yeah, you're right. We're okay. Everything's okay. And literally, because obviously I'm a jeweler, I've got people's jewelry that, you know what I mean? You just like, and so literally we pull up and sure enough, the whole town's cordoned off. I have to go behind the police barriers and park behind the fire engine. And I get out the car and I just run to the shop. And I was so lucky. It was just like literally. there had been bad wiring in the coffee shop next door, which I'm linked to. And it's an old, Winchester is a really old town. And even the fire brigade did not know how the lot went up, didn't go up yesterday. Because this had been burning since 4 a.m. Somebody smelt smoke and never thought to do anything about it. Then apparently at 6 a.m., the smoke was coming through the vents and out the windows. So the public rang and the fire brigade turned up and they're expecting an explosion then. And Anyway, it turns out I was totally fine. I was 2 inches away from the lot
My
catching
God.
fire. The fire engine turned up on time. Um, Literally, the fire brigade cannot fault that they were spectacular yesterday. They contained this fire, they sorted it, they did it. I had to go into the building because my security, they would never have got through and they needed to go. So I'm going into a burning building next door with the fire brigade. Like, obviously they wouldn't have done it if I wasn't safe, sort of thing. So they'd obviously, but you sort of think, well, I think anybody else would have fallen apart. But literally, I had the common sense to phone the people next door and just say, sorry, gave the fire people, then text them saying, don't worry, I'm on my way. And literally dealt with it all, calmed down. And then about 2 hours later, managed to have a cup of tea and then understand, you know. And I
Wow.
think people are like, you're amazing. And I'm like, but I'm not. I'm just literally staying in this new place. So can you
Mm,
see the difference?
mm,
Whereas the old me, I
mm,
would have been like, oh my God, the place is burnt down. Oh, this is terrible. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I never went there. It was
mm,
just like, right, okay, I'm going to drive calmly there.
mm,
Everything's going to be fine. It's under control. And I just kept saying, everything is working out for me perfectly.
mm.
And it did. We've got some fire damage for smoke and stuff like that. My insurance company have been amazing. The insurance company next door has been amazing. The electrician, it's all great. And so people might say, oh, that's a coincidence. But is it?
Mm. But there's no harm in trying these things. And I understand that you've got some resources that will go on the show notes. But if you could just tell somebody how they can actually order your book, because it sounds like such an amazing value, Donna, for you to describe this technique and people can learn it themselves. So how do they get hold of you and how do they get hold of the book?
So there's a link for you. It's actually that will go to both my jewelry. If you're just curious about me being a jeweler, I'm fine about that. But really, the technique there's a link there to Amazon. I'm on Amazon, so you can buy the book there. You can buy it on Kindle. You can buy the Audible. One thing I would do, which I found very powerful for myself, is if you buy the book and the Audible at the same time and read them and listen, it goes in faster.
Mm.
And so you'll then find yourself starting to change your language. The book is very plainly written. So I'm a bit of a no nonsense person. So literally, it's an
Good.
ABC to do. So literally, do it like this, write it like that. If there are any queries or problems, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm delighted to support you, because this is about being the new you, and this is about your power. And it is anything I can do just for you to have a great day, or even the car of your dreams, the house of your dreams, the man of your dreams, the health of your dreams. You deserve it, and I'm just here to serve. It'd just be my pleasure.
And just could you just say the name of the book again so people have got that in
Yes,
their
it's the
heads?
remember. It's Donna Laine, Laine, the remembering technique. It's
And that's
future remembering.
it's quite an easy name to remember.
Yes,
If you just put in
yes,
remember, you'll probably get it as
yes.
well.
You will. You will.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Yes. Yeah.
and it sounds fantastic value. It sounds to learn some amazing skill, which is so useful, and hopefully just encourage people if they do get the book, perhaps they can feed back to you how they got on, I think that the power of your message has got so many examples of how it's worked, and I think it'd be really good to grow those examples and for people to to keep on getting back to you and sharing their stories about how it's worked for them because that's like another positive vibe, isn't it? It's like celebrating the success. So please, people, if you want to buy that book, I really recommend that you do because it sounds like absolutely amazing, amazing value for money. But also get back in touch with Donna and tell her your experience.
Yes, please do. And as I said, and there are lots of other techniques in there as well. So
Oh,
yeah, so honestly, there's more than one, and it's there, as I say, to give you the best life ever. So yeah, thank you.
thank you so much, Donna, for being an amazing guest. And thank you for your generosity in sharing so much techniques and examples over this podcast. So thank you so much, Donna. You've been an
It's a pleasure.
amazing
Thank you.
guest. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you,
See you
Wendy.
again. Bye bye.
Bye.